Ivan Leung and Harrison Xu are making names for themselves in the world of comedy and film. A friendship that has evolved over a decade became a film about their lives called Extremely Unique Dynamic. They use their love of comedy and storytelling to overcome some serious subjects in their fully financed independent project. Harrison and Ivan get real about writing, creating, and even distributing Extremely Unique Dynamic in this episode, and what they want to see not only for this film, but their films in the future. Now, let's get to business. Hey guys, I'm your host Tatiana Ryan, and today I have with me Ivan Leung and Harrison Xu from the hilarious comedy Extremely Unique Dynamic. Hey guys.
Woo! Hey guys.
Hey,
everyone.
Thanks for having us.
How are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's not as cold as it was before in Los Angeles. You must be freezing right now.
I know. I hate you guys right now because I am on the East Coast. It is cold as heck out here, and yeah. So I'm really jealous of you guys having like absolutely normal temperatures.
Oh no, I'm in Vancouver. It is cold here too.
You're in Vancouver?
I am.
Okay, so now, all right.
Yeah,
Ivan,
okay.
you're the only one on the shit list right now. So.
Yeah.
I'm used to that though. So
no. All right. So for people that have not caught Extremely Unique Dynamic yet, they have to catch it. Where can they catch it at?
it's on VOD. It's on iTunes. It's on Amazon. It's on Vudu, Fandango, YouTube. So you can rent or buy it anytime you want.
Okay. And it is really, really funny. But let's go back to how you guys got into acting.
Well, Harrison, please go.
I first started acting in like elementary school plays and musicals. I think the very first thing I did when I was like 10 years old, I was the Sultan in Aladdin. And I did like, theater throughout high school. And then I first started professionally acting when I was 16 in Vancouver. The first show that I was on was called V. It was like this alien show on ABC. And I just died in it. And that was my introduction to acting. Yeah.
Nice. I actually started dancing before acting, so I came up to Los Angeles to take dance classes. And I think I was just like a sad little boy, so like I was depressed and I wanted to find like an outlet to express myself more. So I was trying to find different like art forms to like just let feelings out, and acting was one of the outlets. I fell in love with it. It was a really hard process because I was terrible at first, and then like I just kept going like more and more. I mean, you can ask Harrison. Harrison literally told me I was terrible all the time before when I first started. So,
I would never say that.
you thought it.
Okay, that was one question I had for Harrison before you got on the call, Ivan, was that the movie itself follows two best friends that you were best friends since you were little. But Harrison told me that you guys have been friends for like 12 years. So it's not far off, right?
It's not far off. Like, I'm really grateful to have someone like Harrison. He's just so, smart. He's so put together. He's so talented. And I'm just really, really lucky to have him as a friend.
Likewise. Back at you, friend.
No, Ivan, what kind of dancing did you do?
I did hip hop choreography. Have you ever tried it? Have you ever tried like dance classes? Because I think you said that you're in Philly and New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm in between Philly and New York.
There's some really, really good dancers out there. There's some really good
Yeah.
dancers out there. Yeah. It's always really fun.
Now, it's not like the break dancing that we just saw in the Olympics, right? Okay.
No, no, no. I can't do that. I can't beat Australia at all.
I've seen Ivan do his moves. He's got
Uh-huh.
plenty.
Oh,
Yeah.
And as I saw that Harrison has just as much moves as I do now.
No.
Oh, okay. No, my cousins actually used to do Voloshyka, the Ukrainian dancing with the high jumps and
Oh,
everything like that. So
Wow.
yeah,
Must have some really strong legs.
oh yeah, they do. So we were actually just telling stories about that. Oh, my cousin, he got lifted up by one and fell on his head. So
oh no.
Oh.
yep, workman's comp. No, I guess. But now you guys, when you did Extremely Unique Dynamic, you came up with this film that did you guys write it together?
Yes.
Okay.
Harrison did the first few drafts, and I put the some ideas, some sprinkle, and some personality. But I honestly have to say that Harrison really spearheaded it. He is amazing. I'm such a fanboy for him.
No, it was a lot of like us initially together just brainstorming what that potential movie could be because we had just come off working on this movie called Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, just as the marketing team behind it. We were writing all the social copy and oh, it seems like you're gonna say something.
Nope. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, it's a fantastic
I've heard
film
of
though.
it.
Yeah. We won a Razzie for it. It was super fun. No, but after coming off of that, we just wanted to make something together because we had a really great time working together professionally for the first time, and we just kind of put our heads together and came up with this idea, and we brainstormed it together, we outlined it, and then the movie just came together really quickly.
Going back to that, with you guys have some amazing acting credits that you're coming off of. Harrison,
Hmm.
congratulations. You are a part of Squid Games.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that just won a Critics' Choice Award, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean the first season obviously monumental, groundbreaking, and it created so many jobs for dubbing actors. So yeah, I do a lot of dubbing for Korean shows into English. So if you watch Squid Game in English, you'll probably
Mhm.
hear me. But yeah, after Squid Game season one, it just opened the door for so many jobs for us dubbers and like every show that Netflix does now. And they have so many in Korea, Japan, Poland, like all these shows they dub into English. So it's been a really great opportunity for actors like me to do that.
Now, the Asian films themselves, they kind of started about 5 years ago, really snowballing. After Bling Empire on Netflix and Crazy Rich Asians. Like you both had parts on Ivan, you had parts on the Connors and Goldberg, and Harrison with the Squid Games, doing the dubbing and stuff like that. Do you think there's going to be more of a huge Asian presence in film and shows and everything that's out there?
That really is the hope because, yeah, as you said, Asian American entertainment has just started probably the past 6, 7 years with Fresh Off the Boat, then Blank Empire, Everything Everywhere All at Once. So right now, it's still, in my opinion, still in its infancy. So, hopefully, we'll have more representation, because it went from, super nerdy character Asians to the Henry Goldings of the world with the nice jawlines and the pecs and the six pack abs. But we're still waiting for more representation. For me and Harrison, we haven't really had that much opportunities as what we would have liked. So we decided to make our own, which is how Extremely Unique Dynamics started coming into play. We wanted to create our own destiny. We wanted to create our own opportunities so we could feel represented and show that me and him who are more normal guys have a perspective and a point of view and just a story to share the world as well.
I love it. I love it because that's how this podcast started too.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Mm.
So now there's a running joke in Extremely Unique Dynamic about the fresh off the boat
Yeah.
with the one actor and like the comic book type of style you have every time he's introduced.
Hmm.
Where did that come from?
So Hudson is, he was part of Fresh Off the Boat, which is
Mhm.
one of the most transformative shows for Asian Americans. And Ivan and Hudson, they're actually Fortnite friends. So they were playing Fortnite, and Ivan just asked if he wanted to be in our movie, and he was at Harvard at the time, and he flew out to be in our film, which was super kind of him. And um, yeah, we just thought it was so funny for our meta movie to just call out every trope of every film that we had seen like in this space. And I feel like for indie films, in order to sell an indie film, you need like everyone's always like, but who's your celebrity? Or like, what's the name attached to it? So we just wanted to like really explicitly call out in that comic book style, like celebrity cameo, Hudson Yang, just like really be in your face about it and not be shy that like we're making commentary about how silly that is.
It was hilarious every time. I laughed out loud. Now, what you just said, one of the premises of the movie was focusing on the public eye and the personas and nuances and profiles and judgments, especially in social media. That's how the movie starts out. Like, how are we going to get famous? How are we going to do this?
Hmm.
How do you handle those in real life?
Well, that's a good question because I feel like, a lot of actors, um, from what we've noticed, right? Like we've been in the industry for over 10 plus years. We've seen a lot of people come and go, and I feel like it's really easy to tell when an actor wants to be an actor for the fame and when an actor wants to be an actor because they actually love the craft. And um, I feel like, yeah, like in the movie, right? Like they want to create all these things, become famous. And I think like the message that we wanted to get across in the film is, yeah, like they were trying to do that and they never had success. But then like when they finally just like got together and like created something that they wanted to create and just really rely on the relationships that they had and like made the movie heartfelt, that's when they actually had something. And it didn't matter at the end of the day when characters finished the movie if it was any good or not. It just mattered to them that they finished a movie.
I mean, exactly what Harrison said. I just feel like if you're in I mean, I feel like there are so many people, especially in the social media age, in our generation where like everyone wants to be known, everyone wants to make money to be seen and become famous, but it's actually not the for to be in the real industry, you kind of have to love it because there's so much hustle, there's so much business sense, there's so much not great stuff compared to what you see the people that are like a lot more successful because being a working actor, you might be going to 300 auditions a year. But the thing with a normal job is you get stability. You get paid every 2 weeks, every month or something. For an actor, you only get paid if you book the job. And most actors, most working actors, they maybe get like 3 to 6 jobs, if even any at all. So you really have to have the hustle to make in the industry. And have love for it because it's like getting 300 rejections a year, if that makes any sense, and not getting paid for it, even when you're doing the work for it.
How do you handle the stuff that is said online? Because you just made a huge point about, going into auditions and everything and maybe not getting the job and being rejected there. But then if you do get the job, people online are vicious.
Yeah, it's part of the job. Like, like we put ourselves out there to uh be seen. And honestly, like for me, I'm I say I'm kind of like both thick-skinned and also thin-skinned because if I hear something people say about me, uh it hurts. But like at the same time, like, it's a little bit part I don't actually no, I don't want to say that it's part of the job. It's just terrible because you're putting yourself out there, you're putting your art out there, you're being vulnerable to, you know, show your art and show your craft and show how uh how like what you want to do and then you have people judge it and it just sucks sometimes. But it's part of, if you've ever read that Elizabeth Gilbert book called Big Magic, it's like eating your shit sandwich, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Harrison.
Well, yeah, all that. I mean, I feel like having now gone through the process of making a movie, it's definitely given me a lot more appreciation as a consumer of content because I know how much work goes behind creating something. Like not just a movie, but like, a podcast or like a web series, like all of it's still creative. It still requires a ton of work. And I feel like, I can still be critical about a piece, but at least like I have a lot more deeper appreciation of like the work that went behind it. And um, I know it's like it's hard because like, our work is meant to be judged in a way too, because like that's why film critics exist, and like that's why like, you know, people like put reviews on Letterboxd to help inform other people on like what type of content to watch. But it's definitely like made me rethink like if I'm leaving a review on someone's piece of work, like how do I frame it in a way that's still like, it might be constructive, but it's still kind because at the end of the day, it's still people putting themselves out there and art is subjective. Like there's no right or wrong. We're really appreciative that you watched our film and liked it, but there's probably people out there that absolutely hated it, but that's okay. Like, that's why art is subjective.
And it's kind of also if we think about this on the Business Geek podcast, every single movie that you see, it's an LLC, it's its own entity. So like it's interesting to see when you watch a piece of art, like or a movie, you're watching it, but you don't see that this has been like someone's single business, someone's main attention for 2, 3, 5, 7 years, depending on how long that they made it. So it's interesting to see like in the business sense that like everything that you see on Netflix, everything that you see on the streaming sites or that's renting or in demand on demand, aside from the studio stuff, obviously that like it's someone's like heart, soul, and their own business to actually make money. So yeah.
I think that's a really important point you just brought up is that when somebody makes a piece of art, it's not just like they put 2 weeks into it. It's years behind it. It's a lot of collaborations. It's a lot of people behind it. So, yeah, constructive criticism is good. But the hate and vitriol that we're seeing right now needs to kind of die down.
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't say it to someone to their face. Like, it's easy when you're online and you're hiding behind a keyboard or avatar or whatever. But, it's definitely just like made me really appreciate, the line of work that we're in and the people that do it.
Yeah, because especially for indie films, like, yeah, if we're critiquing Wicked, that's behind a big studio with a ton of people. But for movies, especially for self-starring, like movies like ours, or sorry, indie movies like us, we're self-starters. We see every single review, we see every single critique. We're like two guys doing something, and luckily, people are receiving it well, and that we're, ha like happy, but like, it's another thing where you see like, oh, if someone just think about what you're saying sometimes with these indie movies that people are watching.
Now, the extremely unique dynamic focuses on friendships that are like really close, but making so many changes within a very short time span. Like the movie basis is you guys have been friends forever, but all of a sudden everything's changing and there's a lot of decisions to be made. Um, how do you put that out there for other people to connect with the movie if they're going through the same thing?
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like a lot of people have resonated with the film because they see themselves either as one of the characters or the situation, because everyone's gone through like a good friend moving away or like a change in their life, whether that's like from high school to college or like college to their adult life or just like moving to a different city. And it's that uncertainty of like, will our friendship still be the same? And luckily for us, like I feel like it's brought us closer together because we've been able to go through this film for the last couple of years together, and it's been such a great journey. But for every one of us, like there's also people that maybe naturally move on with their lives and like they go somewhere else, they have kids and like, their friendship kind of falls apart. And there's no like one way that a relationship goes in these situations, but we just want to portray a friendship in that moment in time and like have people just relate to it and um yeah, just like kind of like see how like that's been similar in their lives potentially.
Yeah, because people, I mean, like everyone can relate to having a loved one or someone that we are close to, uh, have a change somehow, even if it's not moving away, or just like some event happens and someone that you thought was going to be a part of your life for a long time, it like it can dissipate, and we never expect it, and we never think about think that it'll happen, but that's life and it happens. And I feel like we made a very meta movie, but at the same time, I think everyone can relate to like, a loss of a friendship or a change in a dynamic of a friendship, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like that's also what we talk about in the movie too, right? Like there's this big secret that one character holds on to, and it's like how do you introduce this new element into a friendship that's been this particular way for so long? Like, is it going to change things? And like that was, the moving away was already one thing, but then like to introduce this whole new thing as well, like it's scary. And um, yeah, we also want to just discuss that too, because sometimes it's really hard to share things with people that are the closest to you.
That's a very good point that you just bring up. Do you think at times that maybe there's like a little bit of a boogeyman factor where people think that somebody's going to judge you so bad for things, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. I'm still your friend. I'm that nothing's going to change.
Yeah, that's the scariest thing. Even though logically you know that like they've been with you for like so long, you don't know what's going to happen, and that's the thing that scares you the most. Like there was a line in the movie where I kind of talked about that, and it's something that was always in my head throughout my whole life. I want to say I'm trying not to spoil the movie, but like, there's things that like I want to say to certain people, but the fear always keeps me me from saying it because I don't, even if there is the smallest chance of having that dynamic change, maybe I don't want it to change because I like how it is. I'm content, or I'm just too scared that, something could fall apart, even if it logically I understand that. But, you know, uh, you know.
Yeah, and sometimes saying it, you just don't want somebody to change the whole friendship itself. So yeah, totally.
It's like when you tell your a 10-year-old, hey, your 10-year-old asks you, hey, how old are you? And then you say, oh, I am 19 or 20. And they're like, what? I thought you were 12. I don't know if I can play with you anymore. I was hanging out with like my niece, and then like I say like my age, and then like you just see her whole face change. I was like, uh and I feel like I get that from like other people too. And I'm like, oh, I thought you were this. I thought you were that. And I'm like, and then there's like some kind of weird thing happen afterwards.
Or they just say you're old, and it's like, just take it, just deal with it. And you're like, okay, thanks. I didn't think I was that old, but gotcha. Now, you gave the show a very reality show feel and a vibe to it. Of course, people just have to watch it. What do you think is so connects with so many people about the reality shows?
Well, Ivan, you should talk about you're super into reality, like traders and
Reality show wise, I love reality shows just because even though it might be fake or it might be scripted or it might be set up, like these people are still they still have to go through all the movements. They still have to go through all the moments. They have to go through the situation. So seeing people having to deal with those things, even though it might be set up. You're still seeing the human, like the human psyche go through this, and you still see the A, B, and C. And sometimes reality shows, it has better moments than a lot of the movies I see sometimes because like I'm seeing real moments of people coming up with things on the fly.
Yeah, it's all real and every like reaction is authentic. And I feel like for our film, we actually had a lot of improvised dialogue in it. So because of that, we were able to discover things and like we couldn't have like an idea of how the scene was going to go in our heads because then it would have felt stilted, or we really wanted to feel like a real conversation that people were having because the situation that these guys are in is very real, and we wanted it to feel like they were just kind of eavesdropping on two guys having these moments. So that's a big part of the stylistic choice behind our film, of why we had the improvised dialogue and how we shot it and how we edited it. But yeah, like reality, definitely, it has those real moments that we really wanted to emulate.
It's it's obviously a comedy, but you guys take on so many different kind of really hard subjects too. And the ad libbing, as you had just said, how many times did you guys just start cracking up about the entire thing?
One of the first scenes that we shot was the Hot Ones challenge. It was our first day, and I don't know, Ivan just is one of the funniest guys I know, so it was just like hard to keep it together for the first few takes. Also, it's because like it was our first few scenes together, so it was just like getting in the groove of it. Um, but yeah, I don't know, like it got easier as we went along, but definitely had moments where I just like couldn't do it.
We had a lot of outrageous takes, so like it was hard to keep us, being serious. But when you self-finance a movie by yourself, it's really easy to not laugh and just take everything as serious as possible in like a wacky way, just because like we were on a time crunch. We had 5 days of shooting, so every moment really counted for us. So we tried to have as much fun but be as efficient as possible and make sure that we had like everything that we could uh be usable. But Harrison's also so funny that like yeah, I had to crack up a few times and we had to retake the take.
Well, you not only the two of you, as you guys said, you had Hudson in there also, and like you're just going through all of these different subjects and stuff, and you're riding around in the car, like doing all kinds of things in the opening scenes because you're dealing with the whole moving thing, so you're doing all of that. Like, what was that like to just go around and do that and just be the two friends that you are?
It was a blast because like in the movie, Harrison actually moved to Canada. So us visiting all the landmarks, like all the places that we loved in Los Angeles or just tourist places, we it was kind of like an authentic goodbye to for LA for Harrison as well because after the movie was done, he we finished the movie and he had to actually move to Canada and go on his honeymoon because he like in the movie, he got married right after. So I look back at those scenes with a lot of how do I say it, like good feelings because I got to do everything I wanted with my best friend, and it was all recorded.
Yeah, it was kind of like a doc, right? Like we were kind of just actually going to all these places we wanted to go. And I actually don't think I went back to any of those places after we filmed. So that was probably the last time I went to a lot of those places, like LACMA or Santa Monica Pier or the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It was like, oh yeah, that was the last time I went to all of those. So in a way, like that footage was real.
Yeah, we I like to call our thing a docu-narrative because a lot of the things that have happened, like we had a thing where we were talking about taxes that actually happened. And we just we did with what we got. Harrison was supposed to help me with my taxes, but Harrison being Harrison, it was a real venting situation.
Now, you guys said you self-financed this,
Hmm.
right? What do you What would you say to somebody that's wanting to make their own film and self-finance and do it themselves and doesn't have backings from big people, but they want to do it and get it done?
I feel like one of the biggest hurdles for filmmakers is budget, right? Like it is expensive to make a movie, and a lot of people have great ideas for a film, but until you've gotten your first film made, it's really hard to get funding for that film. So I would say, like for us, we kept it really small. It's mostly one location, mostly two actors, and we shot it in 5 days. So we try to keep the budget as contained as possible. And because we self-financed it, we didn't have a bunch of red tape. Like we wanted to make decisions, we just did it. And it's got its pros and cons, right? Like it is more pressure because it's your money and every decision matters that much more. But on the flip side, we just had unlimited freedom and flexibility to do what we wanted. So I would say for new filmmakers, like if you have an idea and you want to get your first film made, just do it. And don't hold yourself back. Or like maybe don't write a sci-fi epic, like it's gonna be super expensive and it's gonna be really hard to get made, but like definitely down the line, like absolutely do it. But I think for us, by starting small and using the resources that we had at our disposal, we were able to get this film made, and hopefully it's a good launch pad for future films.
Yeah, and also like uh we have 12 years of being in Los Angeles. Everyone that we met, they've been a really great help. But like along those 12 years and the relationships that we did have, it really did help make the film that we had. So we understand how we really started understanding how appreciative every single person that was on set, how important they are. I think for new filmmakers, I would say just do it like what Harrison said, but also work with what you got and what you know. Like write what you know, because if you work with what you got, we had my friend was going on a business trip and he asked me to house the house. So that's how we got the house. And if I we we're working with Hudson because Hudson was also not only a very talented and also like an iconic like mainstay in like American sitcom, but he's also my friend. So if you want to do something, like look around you and see what you can make with what the resources you have around you. And I mean, if it's your first film, why don't like you don't have to hire or rent the most expensive cameras, the most expensive cinema cameras. Now we have iPhones. Now we have other cameras. Like I would just say, like, just work with what you got because like if you don't start, you don't get anything, and that's with any type of business.
Now I have to ask for your guys' expertise because you're not only affiliated with networks, but you did this indie wise. What is your suggestion for people who are totally indie and especially the beautiful, because you guys are both
Hmm.
affiliated with networks and you
Yeah.
did the project Extremely Unique Dynamic in
Yeah.
indie, your own
Hmm.
project?
Yeah.
What do you say to people who are like, well, I want to stay indie to keep
Hmm.
everything, as you just stated,
Hmm.
your own work?
Yeah. I mean, definitely the funding, right? Because like as soon as money comes from elsewhere, like a network or a studio, then you've lost a lot of the control. Um, but I would say like surround yourself with people you trust, like producers especially. We've learned so much about the producing side of things. We had one other producer, Noel Domurakami, who was super helpful throughout this process. But yeah, Ivan and I, like, it's our first time producing anything. So we learned a ton through the process. And I think for future films, we definitely want to hire additional producers to help take off more of that workload. But I would say, like, if you want to keep it indie, definitely surround yourself with producers you trust. And it can still go into the network system or studio system if you do it indie. Just do it yourself how you want it if you have that strong creative vision. And then you can still sell it to them later. But if you start in the network cycle or network system or studio system, then you lose a lot of that control off the bat.
Yeah, when other like financiers come in, or when other production companies come in, they all have their own opinion, their own point of views, and notes that they want to give. When you are self-financing, you have full creative control because it's your movie, it's your money, and it's your own uh opportunities, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and there's other ways too. You don't only have to put your own money in. You can you crowdfund. Like there's tons of places you can do that, whether that's Seed and Spark or Indiegogo or GoFundMe. Yeah, crowdfunder. But yeah, there's so many different places that you can do that. I also like to be 100% transparent, right? Like indie movies are a terrible investment. Like we've been lucky enough to make like money off of this because we've had great critical acclaim and people have come to watch our movie, but 90% of indie movies don't make money. So, if you're doing this, like you got to really make sure it's your passion and be in the right mindset when you do it. Because if you do want to make an indie movie, the expectation shouldn't be that you're going to get super rich off of it. You're doing it because you love it. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that.
What do you feel about how the streaming platforms have opened up this whole entire new landscape of content that people can view?
I think there's pros and cons from it because the pros is we have so much content like now that we can watch. We have an unlimited amount of movies, TV shows, forms of entertainment. But also the downside of it is we have so much content. We have so much new movies, new podcasts, TV shows. But so like it's a double-sided coin because like now we're so oversaturated, it's really hard to just even pick one thing. But back in like, the 2000s, like there was just like a few networks. And like everyone would be like, "Oh, did you just see American Idol?" That episode of American Idol, and everyone knows exactly what you're talking about. Or in the 70s, is it the 70s or the 80s? Like Three's Company. Did you watch that Three's Company episode or something like that? Like, but now, like, if you say, "Oh, have you seen Game of Thrones?" Someone I know crazy, but someone will say, "Like, oh, I've never seen that before." Before it used to be everyone would know what we're talking about. So pop culture has changed a little bit.
Yeah, I think streamers have just offered so much more opportunities to reach your audience. And it's not just streamers, right? There's so many additional platforms too, like Tubi, for example. Like there's tons of other streamer or channels out there to get your content out. And like Ivan said, right? Like that's great because there's way more opportunities for you to get your content out there. But on the flip side, right, like there's so much content that people are oversaturated. And as an indie filmmaker, that just makes you think like, well, there's all these different places that can distribute my content, but we're not bound to the ways that people had to make movies in the past. Um, like going back to I think a previous question you had, there's iPhones now. There's other types of ways that you can create content that aren't going to break the bank, and there's so many different ways to distribute it. So like for TV shows, for example, right before, like you had to like create shows that align to commercial breaks and like you have to write in that certain way. And nowadays with streamers and with like Tubies and other AVOD channels out there, you can kind of create it how you want it. Like you're not bound by certain episode lengths or like a movie has to be traditionally. So I think in that way, it's given filmmakers a lot more freedom.
What kind of advice do you say to the younger generation of everything they are seeing online about themselves, about like how to self-reflect with sometimes maybe putting some things online also?
Uh, Stay off online. It's not healthy seeing people's opinions about yourself or all that. Like that is something that is really difficult that the new generation has to deal with because it is something that they grew up with. They were born into it. Um, and but also like, know who your know whose opinion is important because the people that care about you, they should be the only people that you should value their opinion with. If you take everyone else's opinion about you, that's just not healthy.
Also, I think it's okay to disconnect too. Like, I think we all live in this world that's very connected. Like, people are on social all the time and feel the need to share everything. And I think it's okay, like, if you want to take a few days off and like go camping or like just be off the grid. Like, I feel like nowadays, like, there's a stigma. Like, if you don't respond in like an hour, then like, you're being a bad friend or whatever. But I feel like for younger generations, like just remembering that there's more outside the world of just social.
Well, especially up in Vancouver. Vancouver is very
Yeah, tons of
outdoorsy.
hiking, outdoorsy stuff. Yeah.
Now, what do we see in the future for both of you?
Uh, Hopefully a career.
You
I
I
have a
think
career.
you have one,
a
Ivan.
new a new up career. I would love
Yeah.
that. Love to
Yeah.
make more films. I would love to act more. I would love to direct. I would love to do so many things. And I feel like because we took the chance on making our own opportunity and making this movie, or the sky's the limit. And it feels so good to be a self-starter and be our own business person and make our own destiny in a way. Because if we didn't take this leap, we would still be where we are, or it would have taken a lot longer for us to get to where we want to be. So I'm really grateful for to be able to do this movie with Harrison, and because if I didn't, we wouldn't be talking to you right now. And so like, it makes me super happy and it fills my heart.
Yeah. And I feel
Well,
like one of the things that has been so great about this journey too is um, I know the term multi hyphenates used a lot, but I do feel like nowadays, like everyone does a little bit of everything, and that's okay. And that's honestly great because I feel like back when we first started acting, it was like if you're not only acting, then you're not like serious about your craft. Even if like you were like writing or like directing or like you had other jobs, it's like if you weren't only focused on acting, taking acting classes, then like you weren't a serious actor. And I feel like nowadays it's completely shifted where it's like, no, you should be creating stuff for yourself. Like you should be writing, you should be directing, you should be doing other things that fulfill you. And that's what I would love, to just continue doing, like continue acting, continue directing, continue writing and doing all these things that are still creative because at the end of the day, that's what, you know, fulfills us as creatives.
now going from extremely unique dynamic to Winnie the Pooh movie that you just
Yeah.
and having your hands in all kinds of stuff. Um, is there like certain genres you want to stay in?
I love comedy with heart. I
Mhm.
just love to make people laugh. I love seeing people laugh. I love being in a audience where you can hear people's happiness, but also I feel like we have a lot to offer aside from comedy as well. Like I love to make people feel things.
Yeah. Comedy is always fun. It's super fun to shoot. It's super fun to show to people. And I feel like we need more joy in the world.
Okay, I have a huge question for you guys because you love comedy so much, but so many comedians are saying the comedy of yesterday, there's no way we can do that kind of comedy now. Like the 80s comedy, yeah.
Hmm.
What's your feeling on that?
Uh, I'm a half and half. I think that it's important to comedy is supposed to call out things. It's supposed to be a commentary, and sometimes if everyone gets offended too easily, then there's no progress, or you can't really move forward. But at the same time, I feel like it has elevated more because uh now people are more conscious about like what they're saying. So like it's both sides of it. Like it's I can't say it's a good or a bad. I feel like it's about intention. Because before if you were doing a joke but at the expense of others, That's not good. But now, is there a way to reframe that joke into a thing where like you can still say what you want to say, but at the same time, like not be an asshole? Yeah,
That
that's
was
my
a
take.
that was a fantastic answer. I have a stupid answer to follow that up, but it's more just like when I how I interpreted your question too was like in the 80s and 90s, like there were a lot of what I would call dumb comedies that I loved growing up that don't exist as much anymore. I feel like all the comedies that we see now are smart comedies, but like I used to love all the old Adam Sandler comedies. Like that's what I grew up on, and like I miss that as an audience sometimes. Like sometimes I just want to watch something and just like laugh and like not have to think too much about it. But you know, a lot of that's gone to streaming, which is great, but like I miss seeing that in a theater too and just laughing with people.
The theater experience, let me ask you about that because it is so much different, as you just said. The streaming and everything has made it so easy to get the content, but it's the experience of going to the theater. Do you want to
Hmm.
see more of that?
Oh yes,
Absolutely.
please, Harrison.
No, please no, go. Yeah.
Yeah, after the experience of being on the year in the festival circuit and seeing people's like visceral reactions to the movie, it's the best feeling in the world. It's amazing. It feels very thrilling, and there's an energy in the theater that you don't get just by yourself in the TV on like in your room in your TV. Like it's it's something that I would love like I want big studio comedies to be back, and I want everyone to experience the feeling of just being in a theater again.
I definitely agree that like in theater experiences can't be beat because there's something about laughter in a theater that is contagious, or like watching a horror movie and just like that collective anxiety that everyone feels waiting for that jump scare. And like, yeah, everyone has home theaters, or like a lot of people are like, you know, just waiting to watch things at home because, you know, TVs are bigger now, sounds better now. Like, there's way more content options, but there is just that special feeling about like walking into a theater, like smelling the movie theater popcorn and like sitting with all these people, just having that collective experience that I think like newer generations of moviegoers don't appreciate as much. But I feel like theaters also just need to do a better job of trying to get people out there and like having that experience and like trying to um, just like create more elevated experiences for people that draw them out of the house because there are just so many options out there for people to get entertained.
Mm.
All right, guys, I've taken a lot of your time. So, where can everybody follow along to see what projects you're working on, where you're going to be, what festivals you're going to?
I am Ivan Long at Asian Ivan on Instagram.
Mhm.
And I am at Harrison Xu, HarrisonXu. No, wait, am I Xu Harrison? No, I'm XU I'm one of those. You can find me.
You stay
Um,
off of social media so much you don't even know your handle.
no, I was like, what's my handle? And then our movie page handle, which is just at Extremely Unique Dynamic.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
if anyone wants to watch a queer Asian stoner meta coming of age romantic comedy, please check us out. We would love that and we would appreciate that. And thank you for taking you know, your time to watch this, and we really appreciate you.
No
Yeah,
problem.
and if you love the movie, you know, tell us, let us know. But if you didn't like the movie, don't tell us. I'm just kidding. Don't leave a
just
review.
just keep your criticism to yourself.
No.
No, guys, thank you so much for being here. My name is Tatiana Ryan. Go check out Extremely Unique Dynamic. Everything will be linked in the podcast description. And thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Tatiana.